My parents said only immediate family gets a seat, so I made sure they regretted it. I showed up to my own parents' celebration, dressed up, excited, ready to enjoy the night, only to find out there wasn't a single seat for me. My sister smirked. Only immediate family gets a table. My parents? They didn't even look at me, so I did what they never expected. I walked out, and trust me, they regretted it. I should have known something was off when my mom kept dodging my questions about the seating arrangements. She'd been so excited when she first told me about the celebration, talking about how everyone was coming, how it was going to be the biggest family event of the year. I asked her directly, "Where am I sitting?" And she just waved it off with a fake laugh. "Oh, don't stress about that, sweetheart. You'll have a spot." That phrasing, "you'll have a spot," not "you'll be with us," not "you're sitting with the family." Just, "you'll have a spot." I should have questioned it harder, but at the time, I trusted them, so I showed up that night, dressed my best, feeling genuinely happy. I walked through the venue, looking for my name card, scanning the neatly arranged tables, except I couldn't find my name anywhere. At first I thought I was just missing it. Maybe I had walked past it. Maybe I had overlooked a table. But as I kept searching, my stomach started twisting in knots. Every single table was full. My aunts, uncles, cousins, even distant relatives I barely recognized, all had their seats. The atmosphere was warm, filled with laughter and conversation. And yet, I had nowhere to sit. That's when my mom finally approached me. "Oh, you made it," she said, her tone way too bright, too forced, like she hadn't expected me to actually come. I gave her a confused look. Of course I made it. Why wouldn't I? And then Emily showed up, my younger sister, the favorite. She had that same smug expression she always had when she knew something I didn't. "Oh, She looked at my mom, acting all innocent. "Did you tell her?" My stomach dropped. "Tell me what?" I asked, voice suddenly cold. My mom let out this fake, exasperated sigh, as if I was the one being difficult. "Well, honey, we had to make sure that immediate family had seats first. And, well, there just wasn't enough room. But don't worry, there's a small table in the back." I blinked. Immediate family. Like I wasn't even part of them. My heart pounded as I looked around the room. These weren't strangers. This was my family. I had grown up with these people, shared holidays with them, been there for them through everything. And yet, when it came down to it, I wasn't important enough to sit with them. And Emily? She was smirking. Like she thought she had won. Like she thought I would just accept it. For a moment, I just stood there, my mind spinning. I could feel my hands trembling, not from sadness, but from rage. And then, I did something none of them expected. I smiled. "You're right," I said, voice eerily calm. "I'm not immediate family, am I?" Then, I turned around and walked out. No yelling, no arguing, just silence. And that was the moment they should have realized they messed up. I walked out of that banquet hall without looking back. No dramatic exit, no parting words, just silence. And that silence was loud. I could feel the weight of eyes on my back as I left. I knew people were whispering, shifting uncomfortably, glancing between my mother and Emily, waiting for them to react. But they didn't. They just let me go. And that was the moment I knew. I had spent my entire life bending over backwards for this family. Always the afterthought, always shoved to the side, but still showing up. I had let them treat me like an outsider, while pretending it didn't hurt. But tonight, they made their choice. And now, they were going to live with it. I didn't go home. I went straight to my apartment, sat down, and blocked every single one of them. My parents, my sister, even my extended family. Gone. No calls, no texts, no explanations. And then, I made my next move. See, my parents had relied on me for this event more than they realized. I was the one who had handled a lot of the planning. They had barely lifted a finger. I was the one who called vendors, set up contracts, and even pulled strings to get them a huge discount on the catering, through a friend of mine. And guess whose name was on all those contracts? Mine. So I made some calls. First call, the catering company. I calmly explained that, due to an unexpected issue, I'd have to cancel the catering order. All those fancy dishes, gone. Second call, the venue. I reminded them that I was the one who had made the booking, and since it was in my name, I canceled that too. Third call, the event planner. I simply told them to pack everything up. Decorations, music, everything. Not happening. I shut my phone off after that. And the next morning, all hell broke loose. I woke up to 17 missed calls. Mom, Dad, even Emily. Back to back. Now they cared? I ignored them. But then my phone buzzed again. This time, a text from my cousin. Yo, what did you do? Your mom is freaking out. I smirked. I didn't reply. Instead, I got up, made some coffee, and turned my phone on silent. Let them panic. An hour later, a loud knock at my door. I checked the peephole. My mom and Dad. Mom looked stressed. Dad had that forced, stiff expression, like he hated that he had to be here. I took a sip of my coffee. Then, I let them stand outside, buzzing, knocking, calling, begging. For the first time in my life, I was the one ignoring them. After 30 minutes, they gave up and left. And guess what? The moment they were gone, Emily called. I picked up. What do you want? I said, cold. She hesitated, then sighed. Okay, I get it. You're mad. But did you really have to ruin the whole night? I laughed. Oh, you mean like how you ruined my night? By making sure I wasn't part of the family? Silence. It was just a joke, she muttered. You took it too seriously. I shook my head. No, Emily. You and Mom and Dad made it clear. I'm not family. And now? I'm treating you the same way. Then, I hung up. That was the moment everything changed. They thought I'd crawl back. They thought I'd beg to be accepted again. But they were the ones begging now. You know that moment when people realize they've lost something for good? That deep, sinking feeling that no apology can fix? That's where my parents were now. For years, they had treated me like an afterthought, like I didn't matter. And now? They were finally feeling what it was like to not have me around. And they couldn't handle it. It started with the calls, dozens of them. From my parents, from family members I hadn't heard from in ages. Even some of my dad's work friends. I ignored every single one. Then came the texts. Can we talk? Please. This is getting out of hand. Let's be reasonable. Family forgives, sweetheart. We miss you. Family forgives? Now I was family? I didn't respond. Instead, I sat back and watched as they spiraled. They never expected me to stay gone. A week passed, then 2. And that's when I started hearing from other people, cousins, old family friends, people who had nothing to do with what happened, and they all said the same thing. Your parents are freaking out. Apparently, after I left the event and tore everything down, they thought I was just throwing a tantrum. They assumed I'd cool off, come crawling back, desperate for their approval. Except I never did. And now? It was hitting them. They had pushed me out completely. And for the first time, they realized they couldn't just pull me back in. It took about a month before my mom finally showed up at my apartment, unannounced. I opened the door just enough to see her face, red-eyed, exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. Good. She tried to smile. Hey, sweetheart. I leaned against the doorframe. Why are you here? She sighed. Look, I know you're upset, and I just want us to be a family again. I raised an eyebrow. A family? She nodded quickly, hopeful. Yes, I know we made mistakes, but I cut her off. No, Mom, you didn't make mistakes. You made a choice. You and Dad and Emily chose to exclude me, to treat me like an outsider, and now that I'm actually gone, you can't handle it. Her lip trembled. That's not true. I just laughed. You didn't even look at me that night, I reminded her. You didn't stop me from leaving. Didn't chase after me. Didn't even care. Tears welled up in her eyes. She had nothing to say, because she knew I was right. And finally, she whispered, I don't know how to fix this. I shrugged. Maybe you can't. Then, I closed the door in her face. And that was the moment she realized she had lost me forever. When I shut that door in my mom's face, I thought that would be the end of it. I thought she'd finally understand that some things can't be fixed with a few tears and a half-baked apology. But I underestimated just how much they were about to lose. And trust me, bro, it was a lot. The first sign that things were crumbling, Emily. She had been quiet since that phone call. No fake apologies, no smug comments. I figured she was laying low, waiting for things to blow over. Then, I got a text. From my cousin. Dude, Emily just lost her job. I blinked. Wait, what? Turns out her boss, who just so happened to be close friends with my best friend's dad, caught wind of what she did at the event. He heard about how she smirked while I was excluded, how she let it happen with zero remorse. And guess what? Her boss hated bullies. So when a new position opened up, one that Emily was desperate for, he gave it to someone else. Someone he trusted. And when Emily found out and threw a fit, he fired her, just like that. She tried to call me after, but I didn't pick up. Not my problem. Then, it got worse for my parents. After the event disaster, my parents had to refund a lot of money. The vendors, furious. The venue, blacklisted them from ever booking again. And the catering company. They charged them a cancellation fee so high, my dad nearly had a breakdown. And the best part, they couldn't afford it. See, my parents weren't as financially stable as they pretended to be. They had just enough to keep up appearances. But when all these unexpected costs hit them at once, it wrecked them. Suddenly, their credit cards were maxed out. Their savings? Drained. And since I wasn't around to magically fix things for them anymore, they were screwed. It took another 2 weeks before she tried again. This time, she didn't come to my apartment. She sent me an email. And bro, it was long. She wrote about how she regretted everything, how she never meant to hurt me, how family is forever. She even admitted that they treated me badly for years, but begged me to please come back because they needed me, not because they missed me, not because they loved me, because they needed me. I stared at that email for 5 minutes. Then, I deleted it. No response. No second chances. Nothing. They had their chance to treat me like family. They threw it away. And now, they were finally feeling what it was like to be the ones left out. After I deleted my mom's email, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Peace, no guilt, no second guessing, just relief, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one fighting for them. And the best part, I never would be again. After the email, things got quiet. Too quiet. No more calls, no more messages. It was like my parents had finally realized there was nothing left to say. Then, Emily showed up. I was coming back from work when I saw her sitting outside my building, arms crossed, looking miserable. She hadn't seen me yet, so I had 2 options. Walk past and ignore her, or give her one last chance to say whatever she came here for. I sighed. Fine. I walked up, and the second she saw me, her face twisted. Are you happy now? She snapped. I blinked. Excuse me? She shot up from the bench. You ruined everything. Mom and Dad are struggling. I lost my job. And now the whole family is talking about how cruel you are. You could have just let it go. I stared at her. Then I laughed. She still didn't get it. Let it go? I repeated, shaking my head. You mean like how you and Mom and Dad let me go? Like how you made sure I had no seat at the table? Like how you smirked when I was excluded? She winced, but I wasn't done. You made your choice, Emily. And guess what? So did I. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she had no comeback. No smug response. Nothing. So I did the same thing I did to my mom. I walked away. And this time, I never looked back. A few months passed. I built a life without them. No more forced family gatherings. No more being the backup plan. No more fighting to be seen. And bro, I was thriving. New job. New friends. A real sense of freedom. Then, one day, I got a message from a cousin. Did you hear? Your parents are selling the house. I raised an eyebrow. Why? They can't afford it anymore. I won't lie. There was a part of me that felt, I don't know, closure. They had spent years acting like I didn't matter, like they could push me out without consequences. And now, they were paying for it. I never reached out, never checked in. And to this day, I have no regrets, because I finally understood something. Family isn't blood. Family is the people who treat you like you belong. And as far as I was concerned, I had no family anymore. And that's how I walked away from the family that never really saw me as one of their own. No regrets, no looking back, just pure freedom. But what do you think? Was I right to cut them off completely? Or should I have given them one last chance? Let me know in the comments. And if you love these insane family drama stories, hit that subscribe button because we drop the craziest stories every single day. Don't forget to like the video and turn on notifications so you never miss out. See you in the next one.